Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities via a number of different modalities. This show is obviously one of them. We also have a Facebook group of like-minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation, and we could be found at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm also super pumped because I recently launched my first book. It's called SOAR, SOAR, and it's an experiential spiritual journey through my divorce process and shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. I am super excited that on my show with me today, I have David Wood. Hey, David.
Hello, Pamela.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm thrilled to be on the show. Live authentically is my language.
Awesome. Super excited to chat with you today. And what a gorgeous background you have there. Where are you located?
Thanks. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and I just
Amazing.
moved into a place just in the foothills and high enough up that we're looking out over the whole of Boulder. Just if anyone is watching the video, this is where we
Oh,
are today.
goodness.
Looking
Look at
out,
that.
looking
Stunning.
out over flatlands of Boulder with the mountains behind me.
Stunning. So what is the weather there today? It looks gorgeous out.
It's gorgeous. I've got a light sweater and I'm getting hot already, so it's
Okay.
quite a treat. I haven't said this on a podcast before, but this is such a gorgeous space with lots of decks looking out over this amazing view. I want to, I love lounging. So I want like a lounge party where we can lounge and lie and recline and just be with nature. I'm very excited about that.
I love that. Well, send me your address and I'll be there. I'm just kidding.
All right. All
I've been
right. You're
known to
on.
invite myself places from time to time. So
I love it.
I'm just kidding. All right. Well, let's get rolling. So I'm super excited to hear all about what you do today. But before we do that, I'd like to start my show off with the same question that I ask all of my guests. And that question is, how do you live authentically every day?
One thing that comes to mind is I largely tell the truth. So, I mean, if there's, I'm single right now. So if there's a woman in the community that I'd like to spend time with, living authentically would be making an invitation. Hey, would you like to hang out? You want to take a walk or a cup of tea? If I don't ask because I'm worried about getting a no, or maybe it's going to be awkward, or I don't even know if she's single, that to
Mhm.
me is not living authentically. So that's an example. When I did the Landmark Forum, they said these weird words to me that I did not understand. They said, if you do the third course, the self-expression and leadership program, you will be expressed in every aspect of your life.
Oh.
Did not know what that meant.
Mhm.
And if you're not, it will be an integrity issue for you. Didn't
Oh,
know what that meant.
okay.
Didn't know what that meant. But
Okay.
now, after doing it, what happens is if I'm not living authentically, if I don't express myself, let's say I'm tolerating something with someone and I don't talk about it,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
feel off. I feel
Yeah.
squirmy. That's
Mhm.
the integrity issue. It feels weird now. Now I'm not 100% expressed. It's a work in pro process, but there's an example of what living authentically means to me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I love how you hit on, how you feel. You can actually feel a physiological response to when you're not being authentic. And that happens as our awareness grows and as we continue our evolution and we understand what alignment feels like, what authenticity feels like. We can almost get to a place where we can't tolerate not feeling aligned and not feeling authentic. And I think that's a really important part of the process is to pay attention to how we feel physically,
Yeah.
spiritually, mentally, emotionally. So, what are some things that you do to check in with yourself to really tap into how you feel?
Well, can I double click on what you said before I answer that? What you said about you can feel it in your body and you can't even tolerate it anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
What that made me think of when I was 18, I had my first girlfriend, a first relationship, and I was in love. And I did something that now would be unthinkable, and I hated myself for it. I cheated at the age
Mhm.
of 18. And I woke up, I was drunk one night and had sex with a woman. I woke up and I was horrified.
Mhm.
Now, what it seems a lot of people seem to be able to do in society is they keep that a secret. I
Mhm.
don't know how to do that. I can keep secrets, um, but they hurt me. And so I told her, and I told her about it straight away. And she did what she should have done. She broke up with me, and I had to earn her trust back. I had to change, but
Mhm.
I could not live with someone I care about and have a secret like that. Now, some
Mhm.
people can. And listeners, if you have a secret like that and you are living with it, that's okay. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it probably is hurting.
Mhm.
And there is a way to come clean. It's going to take a risk, and there might be consequences. But um, I found 9 out of 10 times in my life it's worth taking that risk and taking those consequences for the peace of mind and peace of body
Right.
that I have.
Right. I love that. Thank you for sharing. So I'd
Yeah,
love
sure.
to I want to hear about everything you do, the amazing work that you do in the world today. But let's talk about your background a little bit, because one of the things I noticed and loved in your background is that we have similar backgrounds. So I too used to be a consulting actuary for Fortune 100 companies. So take me on your journey.
No,
Tell me, yes,
no, you
yes,
have got
for
to
real.
find. I don't,
True
I don't think,
story.
I think in the last 15, 20 years, I think I've met one actuary, and that was someone who heard my story and came to me and said, I want coaching from you. I have not bumped into an actuary in 15, 20 years. So that blows me
Wow.
away. What field of actuarial science were you in?
Retirement benefits. So I worked on defined
Shut
benefit
the
pension
front
plans.
door.
Yeah.
N- That's
Did you?
not
Is that what
actually
you did?
possible.
Is that what you did
Yeah,
too? Yeah.
that's exactly what I did. I worked for Towers Perrin, which then became
Stop.
Towers
Okay, now you're
Watson.
pulling my leg. That's who I worked for.
Wow.
Okay, what city?
Wow. I was in originally in Sydney, and then
Okay.
I moved to something they called the ICO, the International Consulting Office, and then
Okay.
they changed it to the Global Resources Group in New York. So
Okay.
my job was to do pension plan consulting for multinationals and all the issues that came with all their foreign plans and
Okay.
consolidate that
Okay.
stuff.
Very cool. So
Yeah.
I have always been Chicago based. So I worked
Wow.
for.
Oh, wow. Oh man, I bet we'd know some common names. I quit in 1997. That's when I
Okay.
went out on my own
Okay.
as a coach. So it's been a while, but man, I bet we'd know some common names. Chicago, there was a big guy who was our contact in the Chicago. I can't remember the names now. It's going back too far.
I started in 1995. I interned in 1995. And then I stopped
Wow.
working there, excuse me, when I had my first daughter at the end of 2003.
All right.
So,
Wow. Yeah, I was they were the only company I have ever worked for.
mhm,
I got a scholarship to go to university, worked in the Sydney office, got the transfer to New York, and then discovered personal growth and authenticity and
mhm.
quit my job to go into coaching because I
Okay.
got really excited about what I discovered in my own course, and I coached somebody in the course and changed their life overnight. And I was like, oh wow, this is
Wow.
amazing stuff. Sign me up for more of
Wow.
this.
So what was the catalyst for making a shift?
Well, I thought I had it made. Like at the age of 24, I was a consultant,
Hmm.
and I'm here on Park Avenue consulting to Sony Music and Ford and Exxon. And I figured I had it made, but I wasn't very happy, and I wasn't doing well in my marriage. And
Hmm.
I went to the doctor and said, I got this pain in my stomach. And he said, I think it's stress.
Mm.
So someone said, why don't you go and do this personal growth program called the Landmark Forum? And
Okay.
I went along, and I left there thinking they smile way too much. It can't be real. And they all wear name tags. It's way too culty. And I had this view of personal growth that it was all self-help junkies who couldn't think for themselves. They were weak-minded and just being led. That was my view.
Hmm.
Fortunately, they cracked my cynicism. They cracked my heart open, and I discovered that there are people who have devoted their entire life to service.
Hmm.
So while the first half of my life was all about numbers and business and systems, which
Yeah.
is still exciting for me, I love working with business owners. The second half of my life was a deep dive into emotional intimacy and vulnerability, leadership,
Hmm.
and influence. And so now I get to bring the two together. But that course was the catalyst. And I decided I needed to stop working with people purely about numbers
Hmm.
and work with people on numbers and their life and make sure that they're living a life that they're fully proud of, so that when we do get to our deathbed, we can look back and say, I gave it everything. I don't
Yeah.
want people to have any regrets. I gave it everything.
I love that we speak the same language because in my coaching as well, one of the first things I like to talk about is, what do you want people to say about you in your eulogy? And they're like, they look at me like I have two heads, right? Like I'm speaking a foreign language backwards. Like, wait, this is not why I signed up with you, right? I didn't sign up to talk about like the end of my life, but I'm like, you know what? We need to start there because that's really going to anchor you on your core values and how you want to live. And that's going to guide the decisions that you make today. So tell me about that. I mean, I know I think that that can be really challenging, especially working with professionals, people in corporate America. We're conditioned a certain way, right? We're conditioned to be, to be achievement oriented, results oriented, numbers based, et cetera. And that is an important part of having a job, being productive, et cetera. But sometimes, we aren't conditioned to connect with our soul. Right. So, how do you begin that process of helping people awaken to the idea, the notion that there is more to this reality than getting up and slaying it every day and getting up again the next day and doing it all over again.
Yeah, well, I want to go meta here. I think we're conditioned, period.
Yeah.
We're conditioned not just to look at our soul and our feelings and emotions and what our body's doing. We're conditioned also um, to a Lone Ranger syndrome, particularly in America. If you built a railroad single-handedly, you're a hero.
Hmm.
If you build
Hmm.
it cooperatively, less so. And it's changing a little bit, but people think, oh, I can do it all myself. A lot of people who come to me can do it all themselves. And that's
Hmm.
the problem. They
Hmm.
are the bottleneck, and they're working
Yeah.
way harder than they have to. And then so they're heading towards burnout. I think the first step is to accept that we are conditioned. That's the first
Hmm.
step. All right, I'm conditioned. I've got blinkers on and I don't even know it.
Hmm. Hmm.
If we can accept that, another nice metaphor I like is you can't read the label from inside the jar.
I love that.
So if we can accept that we're conditioned and then say, I want to live outside of my conditioning, now that's very exciting.
Yeah.
If you actually, can get to those two things, I am conditioned and I'm committed to living outside my conditioning, then you're going to live differently to everybody else. You are
Hmm.
going to do a course that's designed to bust your paradigms. You are going to hire a coach or get into a mastermind and say, challenge me. I
Hmm.
want to see what I'm not seeing. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's obvious. It's right there under your nose, but you can't see the forest for the trees. So if people can get to those two things, then I can help them. And I
Hmm.
imagine you can help them as well. But if they can't get there, then why would they even, maybe they come to coaching because they want to fix a certain problem. They want to fix something that they can see. And then they get into coaching and then they get all of this stuff they never imagined was possible, because true
Right.
coaching lives in what you don't know even, and we
Right.
just see what comes up each week. I don't know
Hmm.
if I answered your question, but that's what came up when you asked it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Do you have a particular avid, or I'm sorry, were you going to add something or?
Yeah, I was talking to coaching someone yesterday, and she came to me because she wants to create a new vision for her life,
Hmm.
but she doesn't know what she doesn't know.
Hmm.
So in our speaking, I noticed something in the speaking. She would end each sentence with does that make sense?
Okay.
And I said, I'm curious about that. Can we go into that? Why do you think you asked, does that make sense at the end of almost everything you tell me? And what came out of it was she's doubting herself. She's doubting
Mhm.
her ability to be clear. She's doubting that
Okay.
it's okay to ask for everything that she's asking for. And
Mhm.
so she's constantly looking, subconsciously looking for approval at the end of each sentence.
Mhm.
She wasn't aware of that. So I said, do you want to go into that? And so we put on hold the vision, and we really went into that. And so what I invited her to do for the next week is practice telling on herself. If she notices she's feeling insecure about what she's saying, see if she can share that. Oh, I notice I'm, doubting myself, feeling like I'm not being very clear. So I want to check how that's landing. Or
Mhm.
I might ask you, does that make sense? Because I want this meeting to go really well.
Mhm.
And I'm just looking for reassurance that it's going well and it's something I'm working on. So that's a way that she can start to shine light on this subconscious behavior. And I
Right.
didn't ask her to change it. I said, I don't want you to change it. If you try and fix it and change it and resist it, it can just persist and stay longer. Let's
Mhm.
welcome this part of you that wants reassurance. And then
Right.
at some point in the session, I said, how does that land for you, what I just said? And then
Mhm.
she answered it, and I said, "Did you notice what I just did? I was in mystery about how what I was saying was landing, or if it's landing, or what's going on. So I checked in for a reality check, but I did it deliberately and consciously. Do you want to try
Mhm.
that out this week?" She's like, "Oh
Mhm.
yeah, yeah." So there's an example of where someone came to me for one thing, and then
Yeah.
we spotted something else that was going on, the dynamic. And I said to her, because she wants to talk about making more money, I said, imagine how much money you could make if you no longer doubted yourself.
Right.
She got
Right.
very excited about that.
Right. And you mentioned the subconscious. And I'm sure, as the vast majority of our life, roughly 90%, is run by our subconscious, right? It's what are those programs behind the scenes, right? What story are we telling ourselves? What limiting beliefs are we carrying? Patterns, et cetera, that conditioning from childhood, right? What are we telling ourselves? Because that's actually what's creating our reality, not only the conscious moments that we seem to be making, in the moment, but it's really those patterns. And that's right there the benefit, one of the benefits of working with a coach. And I can tell that you're an absolutely fabulous coach by the dialogue that you've just shared with me, by the deep questions, by what you've been able to notice and ask and help bring awareness in a way that piques the individual's, the client's curiosity. And rather than just swooping in and telling them, okay, well, this is how to do it differently. I mean, that's really what a coach does, right? Is it helps the client to find their answers. It guides them to their truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you like most about what you do?
I love, and this is new for me to realize this, which seems funny after 20 years of coaching, but I love being of service.
Mhm.
I've always thought of myself as very selfish and self-centered. And instead of going into investment banking, which is where I would have gone if I wanted to just make money, or I would have become a partner at Powers Perrin,
Mhm.
I've devoted my life to coaching and
Mhm.
training.
Mhm.
It's almost like I can't help myself. And so that session yesterday where she realized that um, she was doubting herself, and that subconsciously coming through into every conversation, and seeing the possibility of gently building her confidence over time, that's exciting for me.
Mhm.
I've got another client who came to me to double revenue, and while we were doing that, her self-expression would come up, her advocacy, her standing up for herself with her ex-husband, with her kids, with everybody,
Okay.
with clients who wanted to sue her.
Mhm.
She found her voice, because all she knew is I have to fight and be aggressive, or I have to back down. And we found another way. I just did a coaching session today, which was similar. She's a CEO, and she wants something done today, and she'll push for it. And if she gets pushback, she'll give up and do it herself.
Okay.
I was like, and I said, let's do a role play. And so I became her and she became the other person. And I just gently and with playfulness kept exploring. Okay, so I hear that it'd need 2 days. Let me just ask for shits and giggles, what would it take to get it done in the next 2 hours? I'm just
Mhm.
asking,
Mhm.
right? We start exploring this person's world. Well, I'd have to push back this meeting, but I think I could do it. And it'd be a band-aid, and we'd have to fix it over the next couple of days and make it right. So we explored this stuff, and I said, "What did you get out of that?" And
Mhm.
she said, that I don't have to give up so easily. I can just push and explore and see, and maybe we'll find something that we didn't know before. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, great, practice that
Yeah.
this week. So I love insights. I love seeing how things work and having a client spot something as well and go, oh, right. And then when they come back to me and say, it's worked so well and the team's excited and they've taken this on as their own and they want to do this every week, that's fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those aha moments, right? Seeing that growth week to week. And I love
Yeah.
one of the things I love about coaching is like what you just illustrated, what you just talked about is just the creation of possibilities that didn't exist prior, right? Just through exploring and probing and asking questions like, oh, wow, yes, there is a way we can do this, or there's a way we can do this differently. It really moves away from that black and white, very rigid thinking to very expansive thinking and a landscape where we can create our own possibilities and create our own future.
Yeah, and it works on me too. I'm not saying that I see everything for myself. I was in a therapy session. I was receiving therapy, and I just couldn't see something under my nose.
Hmm.
I said at the beginning of the session, I have this idea that what goes around comes around, and it goes in a big circle. So it's not necessarily two-way. Maybe I give something to someone, and they give something to someone else, you
Hmm.
know, or maybe I do something for Pamela. Pamela does something for someone else. They do, and it goes round in this big. So that was an idea I had. Then at the end of the session, I was sobbing because how much I can receive in the world was being confronted. I had a friend who was giving me so much. I was just in a little ball crying and like, I can't receive. Why can't I receive?
Mm.
And part of it was because he never asks me for anything. He just keeps giving, and I'm worried I'm going to mess up the friendship. And
Okay.
the therapist was able to draw the connection between that and what happened at the beginning of the session. She said, "Remember what you told me about things going around in a big circle? Is it possible that you can receive from him because you're giving so much to others, and it doesn't have to be two-way?" Blew my mind. I just could
Yeah.
not see it because I was dealing with so many other things.
Hmm.
That to me is where coaching really lives.
Right.
Draw
Right.
some
That other
connections.
perspective, right? That outside perspective. So what's the
Yeah.
most challenging aspect of what you do?
Sometimes I don't feel connected to those moments. So, for example, Tuesday, I had 6 hours of back-to-back calls, me being
Okay.
on podcasts and coaching clients, and um, with a 30-minute break. And
Hmm.
that was too much.
Sure.
That was too much. And I don't always know ahead of time that it's going to be a really busy day like that.
Hmm.
Um, Yesterday as well was another 6 hours with a half-hour break. Now it turned out that I was fine, but I was worried about it going to sleep. I'm like, am I going to have the energy? What if I need to rest? And I blocked off a spot for 30 minutes for rest so that no one else could
Hmm.
could book that. That sometimes is really challenging to have so much at at once. And sometimes I forget what I care about. So this podcast is a good example. I love talking about authenticity. I think I could talk about it all day.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily pay the bills. What my clients usually want is what their mind tells them is I want to make more money and I would like to have more time off so I don't burn out. But it doesn't say, hey, I should go and get an authenticity coach. I should be self-expressed. I should work on my leadership.
Hmm.
So that's a challenge for me that I sell what my clients want, and it's more covert what I do, the real work that I do in the
Hmm.
background. And I'm okay with that. But it's a bit of a challenge because sometimes I lose touch and I need to remind myself to talk about the things that I really care about, like this
Yeah.
self-expression, authenticity. The book that I'm writing right now called Name That Mouse. A guy in my men's group said just Wednesday night, he said, if you hear me talking about something and you don't feel my heart in it, I want you to call me out on it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I'm like, me too. I accept that. And me
Yeah.
too. If my heart's not in it, I want
Yeah.
someone to call me out on it
Hmm.
because that's where I want to live.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So powerful. And you're so right about coaching. I describe it as it's more of an abstract space. Before what we used to do as actuaries, very concrete numbers, very specific outcomes, et cetera. But coaching is very abstract. And like you said, we're exploring, they don't know, we're exploring a whole new territory, right? So, there isn't necessarily a formulaic approach. The path may not be clear at the very beginning. And I too, I find that after some of my long days, like today is actually a long day. I have a few podcasts of my own. I'm a guest on another podcast, coaching client in between. And like there's no, you have to be on every second of the day. And I find this work to be a lot more mentally exhausting and emotionally exhausting. Again, I will say nothing else I'd rather be doing. Being in this space of service, also like you, it lights me up 100%. No place I'd rather be. But I never remember being like this exhausted when I was an actuary because I just feel like, we're solving complex problems, right? Sometimes people don't even know what they need. They don't even know what the ask is. They just show up. And sometimes I feel like it's, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle just dumped out on the table. And I don't know what the picture we're trying to create is, right? It's just like, okay, let's just start sorting and let's just start putting pieces together.
I love you. I
Oh,
love you. I can't. I've been using the metaphor. It's been coming up in the last year that what I do is I move puzzle pieces around. Life
oh,
is so complex, and
yeah.
what I can do is help see the puzzle pieces and chunk it down so it starts to make more sense.
Hmm.
And I love that you said that classic actuary. You and I definitely have to stay in touch and connected.
Yeah, for
My goodness.
sure. Yeah, our paths are so similar. How
Oh,
do you begin the process of helping people sort through those 1,000, piece puzzles when
yeah.
they don't really have an idea of the picture they're trying to create? Do they want a mountainous backdrop? Do they want a beach scene? How do you help them begin that process?
Yeah. And it's hard for them.
Yeah.
It's hard for all of us. Someone says to me, David, what do you really want? There are some things I could rattle off because I've spent a lot of time looking at it, but it's a confronting question. Someone
Mhm.
asked me, a guy in my men's group said to me, David, what would have you celebrate your ass off? Like you would dance so much that your ass would almost literally fall off. What would have I took a week to sit with that question.
Mhm.
So that's where I start. I
Mhm.
start with, I have an intake form on my site at focus.ceo. If people are interested in coaching, they put in their email address and then I ask probing questions. And I'm upfront about this. I say, I'm going to ask you probing questions that'll
Mhm.
really get you to stop and think. Take you 5 or 10 minutes and then we'll get on the phone and we'll dive deeper into it. And one of the questions is, what do you really want over 12 months? Because I get a lot of business owners, over what time frame do you want to double revenue? Are you looking at 6 months or 2 years? I want to get a handle on that. And then I ask for personal goals and I give examples. Do you want to be 50% more connected to your partner?
Mhm.
50% more intimacy? Do you want your kids to trust you 50% more than they do now? Do
Mhm.
you want to run a marathon? Do you want to swim with dolphins? And you work it out, whatever it is, and they come with a starting point. And then
Mhm.
I'll on the call, I'll dig deeper and maybe something I'll say, this goal, you want to make this much more money. What would you do with that? What's the end game here?
Mhm.
Well, if I had more money, I would live in Boulder, Colorado, for
Mhm.
example. Okay, and then what? What would you do? And I drill down a bit deeper, and we start to get to what they really want. A question I just added to my form, and I noticed the video is staggering. I want to check that you're still able to hear me fine.
Yep, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, yeah, totally. Um, wow, as I said that, I just Oh, a question I just added to the form was, if you had 6 months to live, what would you do with your time?
Mhm.
And that's a really great way to focus the mind.
Yeah. All right, so we are about ending our interview here in a couple minutes, but what I wanted to do was give you carte blanche and give you an opportunity to talk about anything for the next couple of minutes, whether it's something that you feel passionate about, whether it's, your coaching services, et cetera. So I'll just go ahead and open it up to you to speak about whatever you feel called to speak about.
Yeah, thanks. Well, since I'm on the Live Authentically podcast, I want to talk about the book that we're writing. It's called Name That Mouse, because the elephant is not the only animal in the room. We all know about the elephant. You see it, I see it, no one's talking about anything. Maybe I've walked into a meeting, there's blood, there's blood on my face, and it's so obvious. So we know about that. But many animals are much more subtle in the
Mhm.
room. Maybe I'm 2 minutes late to this podcast and I'm feeling a little embarrassed. That's a mouse. I could name that. Um, I don't know how it is for you. You might not care. Maybe you liked it, it's 2 minutes late, or maybe you feel disrespected. That's a mouse. I can check
Mhm.
in. Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. What's the impact of that? So this book, we're doing a Kickstarter campaign. We've already written the trailer, which is 20-page PDF that's got beautiful illustrations of mice. And I invite all listeners, I believe this book will change the world. I want to bring new language into mainstream conversation so that anyone could go up to someone and say, can I name a mouse with you? And they know what you're talking about. And if they don't, you know how to share with them what it is and say, I just want to name a mouse. Not a big thing, but
Mhm.
that thing that you did last week, I felt a bit disappointed by that. And I wondered if we could talk about it. I want people to be more transparent, more connected, to be the badass leaders and humans that people want to be around. And I think
Mhm.
the world could use it. If you agree, I'd love you to join the Kickstarter campaign. Donate a few dollars to the Kickstarter campaign, and we'll give you the trailer for the book, which is amazing. And we've set the tiniest target of $1,500. We raise $1,500 towards writing the full book, then
Mhm.
we'll take that as a sign that the universe wants this and the world wants this right now, and we'll create the full book. And if not, we'll say, okay, I guess that's not what the world wants right now. But
Mhm.
that's what I'm excited about right now, is Name That Mouse. The next project, one after this book, is to do Name That Mouse for kids. So
Oh,
I want to get this into schools so kids learn that it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to have
yeah.
thoughts, and they can learn an artful way to start communicating that at an early age.
Brilliant. I love
Very
that
excited
idea.
by that. Yeah.
Yeah, as you should be. Very exciting, revolutionary. So, and I know you mentioned earlier in the show, but would you let us know again where people can get in touch with you directly if they'd like to contact you?
For sure. In fact, I have a special link for listeners that'll take you to a hidden page on my website with a gift basket of goodies. So,
Yeah.
and one thing in that gift basket is the link to the Name That Mouse campaign. You can also go to namethatmouse.com, and
Okay.
that'll let you join the Kickstarter campaign. But the gift basket of goodies is at myfocusgift.com, and I have a PDF that you can download with a checklist on how to double your revenue and your time off. There's a 6-minute training video on how to apply it. And if you want to get on the phone with me for 15 minutes and actually get a laser coaching session and see where the low hanging fruit is for your business or career, and if we're a fit for each other, then you'll be able to do that too. All at the same link, myfocusgift.com.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here. I have so enjoyed our conversation.
My pleasure. I'm so glad to meet you. I can't believe I'm meeting a retirement benefits actuary. That's wild. That's made my day.
Yeah, who used to work at the same company, right? No less. So
I, I know.
very interesting. Yeah. So it's one of those cosmic winks. I mean, when stuff like this happens, people will say to me, "Oh, don't you think that's weird or what a coincidence or whatever?" I don't believe that anything is a coincidence. I believe that the right people are put in our path at the right time. So I'm delighted that you were put in my path, and I will look forward to staying in touch.
Same.
So, and thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. I so appreciate you. I believe that time is a choice, and I'm grateful that you've carved time out of your day to be here to listen to all of the wisdom that David has had to share with us today. So, thanks everyone, and have a great day and amazing long weekend. Bye.